Hi, welcome back to the Backpacker Coach. And today I just wanted to give you a little review on this tent. And that is the Six Moon Designs Lunar Solo backpacking tent. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I do plenty of backpacking, mostly in the winter, but also do backpacking in the summer. And this year I decided to buy a new tent, this tent here. And I replaced an old Sierra Design one-person tent. It was about 3 pounds and it was a lot smaller than this tent. Let me tell you, in that other tent I was cramped and it was heavier. It was because it was, you know, a 2-wall tent, and it had you know, all the poles and all that kind of stuff. I liked it. I thought it was a good tent at the time. You know, it was a decent tent, but it was small. It was, you know, like living in a little tube that you could sit up in, but there was very little room to, like, you know, put away stuff in the morning and that kind of stuff. So I decided I wanted to get something a little lighter, and it happens to also be a lot bigger because you can easily fit one person plus quite a bit of gear off to one side if you want to use it that way. So I just finished a 37-mile backpacking trip that we did on a part of the Colorado Trail, and originally it was supposed to be 50 miles, but we kind of got cut short because of a few things that we didn't expect, but that's okay. We still got to go 37 miles and we still had a good time. But I wanted to kind of just give you a brief review of, because I took this tent on this trip, and I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what to expect when you're setting up this tent, using this tent, this kind of thing. So you have to have 6 tent stakes at least to be able to set up the tent, and then I would recommend at least having 1 extra tent stake to be able to stake out this side, and then be able to go to a tree and then pull this side out so you have a little more room on where your head would be. And then you can either put a stick here and go down, or you can attach it to a tree. One of the nice things about this tent is that it has a nice bathtub floor that's 6 inches tall, and you can be able to close this tent and keep out all the rain, which, so it's all nice and rainproof, and you're all good there, but you still have plenty of area for the wind to blow under, so it lets out some of the moisture depending on you know, what you're camping in and the surroundings. You are going to get some, you know, moisture on the top of your tent. It's going to happen. It's just the way a single wall tent works, but depends on you know, the temperature and the humidity and all that kind of stuff. Some of the days that I had, it was quite humid. On a couple of days it was cold and kind of rainy on one of the days at night, and so I woke up in the morning and the inside of the tent was pretty well covered on the inside with, you know, moisture. But then on our last day, we had no problems at all with condensation on the inside of the tent. There was none at all. So I think the wind was blowing more underneath the tent, and it definitely kept the condensation down because I had none at all. Speaking of condensation, how do you manage with the condensation on the inside of the tent? And actually it's pretty simple, and it's pretty easy to deal with. So really all you need to do is go buy some sort of a small camp towel that dries fast, and hopefully you can find a little clip to be able to clip it on the outside of your backpack, or you might have to find a little carabiner to clip it to the outside of your backpack to dry during the day. But all you have to do, pretty much, wake up in the morning, open up your camp towel and wipe off the inside of the tent in the morning, and you're good to go. Within a very short period of time, it's dry. It doesn't really cause any problems, And then all you have to do is, put your camp towel out on the outside of your backpack, let it dry during the day, so you can do it again the next morning. And that's all I did for this backpacking trip, was just pull it out every morning, make sure it was inside with me so I didn't have to go get it, and then just pull it out, wipe everything down in the morning, and you're good to go. And like I was going to say, being that this is a single wall tent and this is not all the way down, it is a little bit cooler tent than maybe some of the double wall tents. So that's something that you do have to take in consideration. I'm not sure whether or not I might have to get maybe a slightly warmer sleeping bag, because it is a little bit of a colder tent. It's just the way kind of tent works. But like I was saying before, you can easily fit yourself, plus also you've got at least this much room for gear and maybe for your backpack or for whatever you want. If you want to bring that in, you do have lots of room for your gear. You can see inside the tent, there's lots of room. Let me bring you inside the tent. I can at least show you around. So you can see, if I lay down here, I've got all this room off to the side here that I can still use for gear, or for a dog, or even a small child could even fit over here. So anyway, you've got lots of room, and I still, my feet are almost not quite touching the bottom. I still have, quite a bit of room up here. I've got at least a foot up here. So there's lots of room. And then I'm 6 feet tall, and there is a lot of room up top. So you can easily be able to get around, move, do what you need to inside the tent. There's lots of room in here. I'm very impressed with the size of this tent. With the weight to size ratio is amazing. So anyway, that's the inside of the Six Moons Designs Lunar Solo backpacking tent. So it does take a little bit getting used to setting up this tent. There's a couple different people. There's obviously the Six Moons Design people who tell you to set it up a certain way, and then there's a lot of people out, on YouTube that tell you to set it up a certain way, and whatever works best for you, that's what I would do. I would work on just setting up this tent a bunch. I got to set it up 5 times or so this last backpacking trip, and I'm still kind of learning of how to exactly get everything all tight all the way around. It's just you have to kind of get a feel for it and get used to it. But once you do, it's not bad. It doesn't take too long to set up. It's just you have to kind of like make little micro adjustments when you kind of get it all set up to get it all nice and tight. But other than that, it's been a very good tent. It's lightweight. It does not come sealed though, which is a little bit of an issue. So you actually have to do that yourself, or you can have Six Moons Design do it for you for like 30 bucks, I think. But you might as well do it yourself. Just go and you buy the silicone sealant, and you just go along all the seams, and you're good to go. The one thing that I've heard, and I will do this probably as well, is that you probably should take some of the seam sealant and put little dots on the floor, because this is very slippery and your mat will slide around a lot. And so if you take little dots and make little dots all over the bottom of your tent, then your mat won't slip and slide all over the place, and it'll be a lot better experience. And I did really have that problem, especially the first night. My pad was ending up, off on the side of the wall the first night. I was finding it all over the place. So definitely it is a little bit of an issue. So, but it's easy to correct, and I will probably be doing that modification Probably for the next backpacking trip, I'm going to put the dots all on the inside of the floor of the tent so things don't scoot around and stuff. But other than that, I didn't have any leaks or anything. Once I put on the sealant, it did very well. It did very, very well with, we had rain pretty much almost every night, and I never got wet. It did really well. Also, it didn't pour, so I didn't get a, check out like extreme crazy raining conditions, but it did at least rain every night. All right, and also, if I didn't mention it, I think it's very important to use the trekking pole instead of the tent pole that you can order separately for this tent. I definitely do not recommend buying that piece of equipment. It is worthless, it is too short. So please just go out and buy yourself a nice lightweight trekking pole. I bought a nice lightweight carbon fiber trekking pole, and make it just 3 inches taller than what their tent pole is, and you will have the perfect height on your bathtub every time.
So in the next part of this video, I wanted to kind of explain why I bought the 6 Moon Designs backpacking tent as opposed to a couple other tents that are on the market. And I just wanted to kind of go over those reasons and also just kind of explain to you just the reasons why I bought that tent. So the first, was looking at 3 different tents, and obviously the first one, the Hyperlite, mountain gear tent, it's obviously an amazing tent, but the drawback is it is $599.
Wait, what?
Obviously it's a very light tent, being only 17.4 ounces, which is amazing, but I just could not spend $600 on a tent that I don't quite go backpacking that much. If I was, some amazing YouTuber that got to go, backpacking all the time, or I was, some sort of a backpacker that got to go all the time, and that would have been great. I would have easily gone and bought a $600 tent, but I couldn't justify it, so this one was kind of out of the question. On top of that, I had to be able to buy it off of Amazon because I had some money that was kind of locked up in Amazon, so you can't buy this on Amazon. So that was also one other small issue, but not really the big issue. Really the biggest issue was the price. So that's the Hyperlite. That one's kind of out of the picture. So the next one is the Mir Lanshin ultra lightweight backpacking tent. Now this tent is a pretty good, decent tent. It runs only $235. You can buy it on Amazon. It's pretty lightweight. This is the Pro version, and so it's only 1.74 pounds. So pretty much a pound and just a little over a pound and a half. So that's really, really a good deal. That's very nice lightweight, and it's made out of 20D nylon. And here is, that will make more sense on the next part when I talk about what it's made out of. So it's made out of nylon. Now typically nylon's not a bad thing. A lot of tents are made out of nylon, and if it was a 2-all tent, I would definitely consider a tent made out of nylon. But this tent is not made out of some other better materials, so I wanted to explain why I didn't pick this tent out because of the next thing. So the next tent that I was looking at, of course, is the 6 Moon Designs tent, the Lunar Solo tent. Now, of course, this one is $270, and of course it doesn't come seam sealed, but it's made of polyester, and coated with, of course, a silicone. Now, you're wondering, what's the difference between, nylon and polyester? Well, from what I understand, polyester doesn't sag as much when it gets wet, which is really important in a single wall tent. So that was really for me, the deciding factor on buying this tent. That was why I really wanted to get this tent, was because it's made of polyester and not nylon. Now, there could be some argument made that being that this tent actually is double silicone treated, that maybe the water doesn't seep in as much, and so maybe it wouldn't sag. There is a possibility there, but all I know is that polyester doesn't sag as much when it gets wet. So I thought that was a big enough thing that's why I chose Six Moon Designs Lunar Solo Tent over the Mirror Tent. So let's say you've decided to buy the Six Moons Designs Lunar Backpacking Tent. You're all good to go, right? Not quite. So there's a few things that you'll need to buy besides the tent. So I just want to go over those things with you. So like I was mentioning before, it'd be a good idea to buy some extra Guyline rope. And so this is what I bought. I just went down to my local store and was able to pick this up, but you can buy this off of Amazon as well. And I just tie one out on the side of the tent and just attach it to a tree and then do a trucker's hitch. But if you are not challenged, like I have been for quite a while, and I finally learned the trucker's hitch, you can always get this, and that is the MSR Tent Guyline Kit. And these are very cool. I've used these on my other tent and they work really, really well. So I do really recommend these if you don't like tying knots and that kind of stuff. So I would definitely suggest getting one or two of these for your tent. Okay. So next, you need to get tent stakes. It does not come with tent stakes, so you need to at least buy 6, but I would at least recommend probably buying 7, because you need to get one for that guy out point. And so that would be important. Or if you want to have 2, then you'd have to get 8. But I would definitely recommend getting, 6 tent stakes. These are the ones that I use. I really like them. They're maybe a little bit on the fragile side, but they're really, really, really light. They're only 0.2 ounces. They're a really good tent stake. I really like these. The reason why I like them is because it has a tall, big nubby part on the top part, so it really grabs the rope at the end so it doesn't fall off, it doesn't slide off. That's why I like those. The next part, you're going to have to seam seal this tent. So either if you have to go and buy or have Six Moons Design do this for you for $35, or you can buy the sealant, and this is the sealant that you need to buy. It's the Seam Grip Plus SIL. So remember to make sure that it is the SIL plus the SIL version. That is something that I found out is very important. They recommend that one for this tent. So I would probably would buy 2 of these. I went through one whole tube of this and I was able to cover about 80% of the tent, maybe 70% of the tent. So I would recommend buying 2 of them. Next, like I had said before, you're going to have to buy a trekking pole. I definitely do not recommend buying the tent pole that you can buy off their website. I know it looks like a good deal because it's really light, but it's too short. It doesn't work. So I would definitely just go and get yourself a nice set of trekking poles. These ones are really lightweight, and they're only 6 ounces per pole, and they're only $60. That's a really good deal. They worked really good for me. I only brought one, and then used that one to set up the tent. Worked great. And last but not least is a footprint. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I just think it's a good idea, mostly for protection, not necessarily for having the water come up through the tent. I don't really think that's a big deal, but of kind of a vapor barrier sort of thing. It does help with the vapor barrier stuff, but I kind of just use it as an extra layer of protection on the bottom of the tent, so you know that you're just kind of protecting the bottom of your tent. It is very, very lightweight stuff. It's feels like you're putting a cellophane on the ground, so it is crazy lightweight. It'd be a little difficult in windy conditions to set this up, but I feel like it's just important just to protect the bottom of your tent. So that's everything that you actually need for this tent. But like I was saying before, if you have all these things and you buy all this stuff, still the tent is only 2 pounds 6 ounces with all those things that I have listed. So that's still really a lightweight tent. And of course, everything that I'm talking about here today is going to have a link in the description, linked to Amazon, so you can be able to purchase any one of these things. It really helps me out if you click the link and purchase something. That helps me out, and obviously it helps you out because now you know that you're getting something that I would recommend, and you know it is a good product.
But that's my just brief review on the Six Moons Design Lunar Solo backpacking tent, and I hope that you like this review, and let me know what you think of this tent in the comments.